guys, welcome back. Today we're doing what I would like to call the Golden Spike review. That's because we're looking at Bachmann's American 440 steam locomotives in both the UP 119 scheme and the Jupiter scheme. Now for those of you that know a little bit about railroad history, these two locomotives, I'm going to give you a little depiction here, kind of met up. I can't do it because they're both going the same way, but they met up in Promontory, Utah, where the Transcontinental Railroad actually met up for the very first time, and these two locomotives were there for that ceremony where they drove a golden spike in and completed the Transcontinental Railroad. Now we're going to be taking a look at these locomotives, and then at the end of the video, this is probably going to go long, but I am going to cut out some of the regular review portions because we're going to do a diorama for these two locomotives. I'm going to show you quickly what I did to throw together a pretty decent diorama for these. So we'll take a look starting right now at these two locomotives, the American 440s. They MSRP for $315, but you'll find heavy discounts at online retailers and brick and mortar hobby shops. So let's get started right now. Alright, we're going to unbox one of these. These have actually been out of the box before because I was kind of checking them out on my own. You've got the locomotive. You have documentation for the 1-year warranty through Bachmann. You have an exploded parts diagram. Now these are retooled, so they actually have a nicer tooling than the previous run. The previous run, I believe, had a connection between the tender and locomotive. This just has wires in between the tender and locomotive versus I think a drive shaft that was going through the whole thing. So you've got the exploded parts diagram here. You have the quick start guide here, and you know, you have the overview. You've got functions of the decoder because it does have sound. It's got tsunamis, or I'm sorry, soundtracks sound, not tsunami, but the soundtracks. It's called sound value. It's like a diluted version of Soundtrack's tsunami decoder. Then you got the warranty card, which you can put in there. But let's get to the locomotive, star of the show here. Pull it out. Pretty simple, hard plastic with soft plastic on the inside there to protect the locomotive. But let's take a closer look at the model. So we have the model here, and it is just a beautiful, beautiful model. I really, really like the detail and the nice glossy appearance, and just really kind of captures these original locomotives and brings you back to railroad history at the same time. Now I'm going to rotate this around here, and we're going to get started in the view. You've got the headlight, the headlamp, they probably called it then, up top. It is a LED, and then you've got the smoke box door here. You've got what I call the cow catcher. I caught some flack for saying that. I don't know what the other terminology is, but you've got a Bachmann Easy Mate coupler. You have the lead trucks here, and then you have the operating driving rods here, side rods, that drive this here. So we'll show you that in motion later. You've got the bell bracket here. You've got the smoke stack. You've got the dome here, sand dome, boiler dome. Then you've got the driving wheels here. Nice little ornamentation there. Got interior cab detail, which is going to be a little hard to catch. It's basic boiler backhead detail. You've got windows, open window, and a window in place. This does not adjust to close or anything. Number 119 under the cab. You've got the roof, which has a little bit of dust on it from when I had it out. You've got a nice wood load in the tender here, and a brake wheel located right there. Got the tender trucks, Union Pacific Railroad along the side, rivet detail along the tender. On the back, you've got 119 on the rear, another McHenry coupler, spring-loaded coupler, plastic, has a glad hand on it. And there you have the whole view of the locomotive. Now, to really show you the underbelly, you can see that there's a drawbar and a multi-pin plug there that would plug in, but I believe it already comes plugged up for you, and then you see the speaker in the tender there, along with the electrical pickups for the wheels. Lead trucks here kind of free floating, but they haven't had any problems sitting on the rail to my knowledge and to my experience with this model. So there you have this version. Let me go ahead and show you the other version, and we'll get straight into operation. Here's the second version, also with a wood load in the tender. Bachmann does make some other 440s and other schemes that don't just have the wood load. There are other loads, but overall the same goes for this locomotive in terms of parts and details. Just a little bit of a variance. You've got the smokestack screen installed on the smokestack. You still got the headlamp, all the detail, side rods, domes, bell. You've still got a little bit of boiler backhead detail. You've got the brake wheel in the same location, Jupiter along the side. So just wanted to basically show you this locomotive versus doing a whole run by again of all the details. But there you go, that is the Jupiter scheme. Again, there's several other schemes available. Now these little guys aren't very long. You're looking at about just under 8 inches. But I've got it on the track. I'm going to apply track power here. So we're going to run through some quick sounds here, starting with F1, the bell. F2 is the whistle. I'm guessing some research was done on the whistle. I can't tell you if it's the correct one. They didn't have video then, so I'm sure some of the railroad experts could. But I'm sure, knowing Soundtracks, the fact that it's a quality company, they've done some sort of research. F3 is the short whistle, so you can get a grade crossing sequence going pretty well between the F2 and F3 functions. Which I'll do now since we're not doing a run by and we're doing the diorama instead. Good news is, I bet you they didn't have those rules yet, because in that time period they didn't have to worry about grade crossings too much. Okay, so F4 is steam release. You hit it again to stop it. And the only other functions on this is F7 dimmer, which applies to the light, which you haven't seen yet. And it does actually dim the light. Nice yellowish LED there. Then F8 will actually turn the sounds off. The only other sounds we have to cover is with the chuff. Now I'm going to go ahead and let you multitask and see the slow speed control, how well it does, and hear the chuffs at the same time. So let's go ahead and start at 1 out of 128 or 126 speed steps technically. That's 3, 4, 5, and kick it in reverse and go to 1 here. So it's a little drive, hasn't been broken in. You've got a little jerkiness at 1, to be expected. 2, 3, 4, 5. Those of you wanting to hear the whole grade crossing sequence and everything with both the sound, the chuff, the bell, the whistle, I'll go ahead and do that for you, since again we don't have a run by. Here's the second one in motion. You see the action of the drive rod right there? There's the bell. So same sound file as for the other locomotive, but pretty cool overall. Well guys, that wraps up the review on the Bachmann 440, the American steam locomotives. Again, really nice detail, retooled, nice sound. The sound value in there for an MSRP of $315, considering you get heavy discounts on Bachmann products from a variety of online and brick and mortar hobby shops. Really, you can find these for a great value. Now, I will tell you that we're going to go ahead and transition into how to build a small display case / diorama with these two featured, and you can stay tuned for that if you'd like. If not, we'll see you next time right here on my channel, but we'll be continuing on with the diorama display case build right now. So I'm going to show you how to do this tabletop display. Everything here is less than $100, and except for the models themselves that are going to go into it. Now, I've done some prep work. First of all, I had to put together the case. Now, this whole tabletop display, it's a 19-inch display from acrylicjob.com. They had them on eBay. I talked them down to $59.99 shipped on the best offer deal. I just needed some sort of display in order to do this. I've done some prep work, which is just simply gluing down cork roadbed and the track here. Now, this is Micro Engineering Code 83 Flex Track with weathered rail. So that's ready to go. This comes as one piece, and you have to build the case. So I had to build the case to see how it fit, and it does actually sit on this bottom surface here. So I needed to make sure I cut this short. So I don't really need to show you that. That's pretty simple. You don't have to do everything you do with your layouts. I just used a few dabs of glue basically. Now what we're going to do is, since it's the Golden Spike and that's a desert scene, we're going to lay out some desert stuff here. First of all, I picked up some Rust-Oleum gloss sand paint here. And so I'm going to take this Rust-Oleum gloss sand color. I don't want to drip on the edges there, so just kind of hover over. This type of brush helps with less streaking, brush strokes and stuff. What I want to do is get a wet coat all the way around here. So now you have your basic level of gloss sand down. I was trying to find a dull sand, but I couldn't really find one. Now, what you need to do is take Woodland Scenics, or really any brand of fine ballast in this sand color. This is Woodland Scenics Buff fine ballast. I'm going to open up the shaker side, and I'm going to use the advantage of this paint to help adhere to this ballast, at least the bottom portion of it. We'll go over with a glue spray later. So now I'm just sprinkling the ballast all over the area where I put the paint. Get a little desert scene going on here. Normally this is where I would add in little bushes and stuff. I ordered some desert vegetation from overseas. It didn't make it in time. So maybe in another video I can show the whole process or whatever. But I'm going to go without the lid on the ballast because I think it would be better. Now I might catch some heck from the critics for not being just perfect, but this project is about two things: budget and time. So going in with the ballast. In the essence of time, it'd probably be better to wait to let everything dry before you put the ballast in, because you're going to have to spray this down with a mixture of water and alcohol. and you're also going to have to spray it down with glue, but the whole thing gets covered in glue, so water and alcohol just helps the ballast absorb the glue better. So folks who have been watching my channel for a long time know how to ballast track. Now one thing you're going to have to watch out for in this case is you don't want the ballast to go along the outer edge. That's where the glass case is going to sit. So you got to be careful about how you do this. At the middle, so we're just going to smooth this ballast out, fill in the gaps. Probably help when you run the ballast over the ties to give it a weathered appearance. So I got my brush. You can't really get a good job done with just your fingers, so got the brush, I push the ballast up into the ties at the edges, then I go back over, rinse, repeat. Don't actually rinse anything, that's a bad idea, but you're gonna brush it in, make sure there's no ridge showing. You don't want that ridge of the actual cork roadbed to show, if at all possible. In areas where the ties aren't filled in with ballast, you can go back, push it back up, run it back over, and again repeat this process until you get exactly what you want. Now once you get your ballast just like you want it, you're going to take about a tablespoon of water, or an alcohol, tablespoon of alcohol. A capful is usually what I go with. Mix it into water and get a spray bottle. This is a mister, so it really doesn't displace the ballast, but you're going to need that onto, need to put that onto the ballast. You're really going to have to dry up the surrounding area here. But the purpose of this is to get the ballast prepped to take a water glue mix and you really need to saturate it or that glue is going to run right off. So now you're going to take your water glue mix. It is a 50-50 mix. Just find whatever bottle works. You're going to run it down the ballast, covering the areas, and if it starts to bead up with the ballast, you know you haven't saturated completely. So you can run down the middle. You're going to need to actually, in order to make sure that that ballast actually sits. I would say get all the water off the wood, actually off the interior lip of this bottom part of the case. And we're ready to move on to our next step. Okay, we're in my basement on the floor. And I'm about to unroll this beautiful backdrop from TracksideScenery.com. And unfortunately, this backdrop, which is very long, is about to get hacked to be used on our diorama. So they make beautiful, beautiful backdrops, and you'll see how simple that diorama is. But once I add the backdrop, how complex it becomes with this backdrop. So the good thing about this acrylic is it comes apart. It's not just one piece, so I don't have to measure the insides. This acrylic comes apart, so I can actually measure the back inside piece without having to go crazy with it. And we just simply measure this back piece that's probably hard to see in the camera with the perfect piece that we want from there. Adhere it to the back, and we're ready to go. So here we have the glass case the acrylic I should say. I built up a little ridge line in the back to kind of cover up the seam between the backdrop and the scene, and there you have it. Just something simple, easy project. Obviously there's going to be those of you out there that can do way better with this. I don't know if it gets much worse, but it's a basic project. Again, acrylic case, $59.99. Figure a piece of track, a piece of corkboard, some ballast, some glue, water. You're not talking a paint. The paint was $3.97. It's got to be under $100 bill to get this scene done. Now, obviously, it would look better with vegetation, but the vegetation's not in. But one good thing this is a testament to is the fact that the realistic backdrop can really do a lot when all I have is track ballast and some fine sand ballast and paint. The backdrop can really pull it together. So let's go ahead and put the models on and see what that looks like. So here you have the nearly finished project. Just need some vegetation, darn it. I really hate to see that I couldn't put that in before finishing this video. Just have to check out my Facebook page at facebook.com/HO Scale Product Reviews. I can post the finished product, but overall not too bad. Pretty cool little case. You know, I don't know that it's perfect. It's not, you know, model railroad or material, but it's pretty cool to do something like this, a project for under $100. If you include the locomotives, you're looking more at about $450, but you could do the actual display of anything like this for less than $100. You know, you put this on a shelf or on your desk. Pretty neat.